My 13-year-old, Tab, and I were sitting in a lunch spot in Manitou Springs, Colorado, trying to figure out what we were going to do for the 5 hours before our former babysitter's rehearsal dinner. The altitude was getting to us. We'd already hiked through Garden of the Gods for a couple of hours that morning. We were just feeling kind of exhausted, and we couldn't check into our hotel for 3 hours, so chilling out there wasn't an option. So we sat in the lunch spot, and I Googled around on my phone, trying to figure out options to kill at least 3 hours. And finally, I found the answer. Tab, I said, let's go get donuts. And Tab was like, donuts? Cool, donuts, except we just ate lunch. Why get donuts? And I said, we want the high altitude donuts from the Pikes Peak Visitor Center because somehow there's something about being made at 14,100 feet that has their texture or something different, and we should go get them. And Tab said, cool, let's go. So we went and hopped in our rental Corolla and started driving up the mountain. And so we got to there's like an entrance gate for the road up the mountain. And a nice woman handed us a brochure and said for me to give it to Tab. And then she explained a couple important things, like where the bathrooms were on the way up. There was one by a set of picnic tables, and then little more than halfway up, I'd hit a visitor center. And then after that one, there really wasn't a good place to stop or turn around until you get to the parking lot that's about 16 miles down the road, somewhere around 1,300 feet. And from the parking lot, you can catch a bus to the donuts in the visitor center. But really, the bus to the donuts. So she also told us that I needed to turn the air conditioner off because at some points the road was so steep that my car risked overheating if the air conditioner was running. Fine. Turned off the air conditioner, rolled down the windows, started driving. It was pretty uneventful, beautiful, but uneventful. So uneventful that Tab fell asleep for most of the drive up. And just when we passed the visitor center with the bathrooms, halfway up, Tab woke up. And I made some joke about how, hey, maybe you should drive back down so I can take a nap. And Tab said, do you want to die? Because at 13, Tab was wise enough to know that a first driving lesson on Pikes Peak was probably not a good idea. So we were laughing about that as we hit the tree line and kept going up into the rocks. And still laughing as we went around one hairpin turn into a particularly steep switchback. And to my left, I could see a red cliff, and then the lane where cars might come zipping down next to me, and the yellow line dividing me from that lane, and my little bit of road, and sky. Lots of sky. Lots and lots and lots of sky. In fact, too much sky, like a sky that wanted to swallow me into the sky. And all of a sudden, my vision jumped, and I got dizzy, and my heart started pounding, and I thought, oh shit, I'm having a panic attack. And this might also be altitude sickness, but it's definitely a panic attack. And what the fuck am I going to do? I'm driving, and I'm having this panic attack, and I don't know what to do, and I'm going to breathe. And so I breathed in and out, and in and out. And Tab notices that I'm breathing the way the school counselor told Tab to breathe when their anxiety was getting big. And Tab says, Mom, are you okay? And I said, well, I just got a little dizzy for a minute, but I'm not dizzy. And Tab said, Mom, the brochure says if you get dizzy, turn around. You need to turn around. But there was no place to turn around. There was no guardrail. There was no shoulder. There was just a little bit of road and a lot of sky. The only way out was going to be to keep going forward towards that sky. And at this moment, I thought about what everyone thinks about. How I'm going to tell the story when I get out of this. And I was doing an MFA in creative writing at the time, and I thought about how one of my professors was really big on sensory detail and telling things with body language. And I thought, great, this is an opportunity to know all the body language for a panic attack. So I paid a lot of attention to the sound of the wind whistling through the windows and the way the sweat on my palms was almost making my palms slippery on the steering wheel, but I was too scared to take them off, just gripping that nice firm plastic at 10 and 2 harder and harder to keep them from slipping. but also the way my knee was bouncing up and down and up and down and up and down and shaking, but that I was still able to keep my foot in exactly the same firm position and move forward at all of 8 miles per hour. Now, it just so happens that when I did get down to the mountain and looked at mindfulness.com with an article on top 5 ways to calm down a panic attack, paying attention to sensory detail was number 1. So never say that being a writer will not save your life. But so I kept my eyes not looking back to see how many cars I'd pissed off by driving only 8 miles per hour. I kept them trained on that center yellow line as I went through hairpin turn and up like 2,000 switchbacks until finally I saw the road sign that said 15 and a half miles. And I knew I was almost there. I'd almost made it to the parking lot where I could catch the bus to the donuts. And we got there, and Tab says, pull over. And I pull into a parking spot, one of the first parking spots. And of course, it faces out into all of that expanse of sky that's been terrifying me this whole way. And so my panic doesn't completely go away when I pull in. No. But I think, okay, I've gone through all of this emotion, all of this panic. I've made it to the parking lot. I deserve my piece of fried dough. I want to get on that bus, and I want to get that Instagram picture with the powdered sugar on my face and Tab's face, that 14,000 foot picture. But I'm also not sure my legs that are still shaking are going to carry me to the bus. And Tab is saying, no, I don't want a donut, turn around. But what message am I going to give my kid if I don't make it to the finish line, right? So I say, let's just sit here for a minute and think about what to do. And as I think about Zebulon Pike himself, because I just read his story when I was back down there at the lunch spot. So Zebulon Pike is a contemporary of Lewis and Clark. At the same time that Thomas Jefferson sent them to explore the Pacific Northwest, he sent Pike with a company to try to find the headwaters of the Arkansas River so that the U.S. could claim that. This led him to be the first white man, or one of the first white men, to explore Colorado. So his company was camped out at Pueblo, and he saw the Puff, that was the mountain that the Ute people around him called Tava, home of the sun. And he decided, I need to go climb that, because if I get to the top, I'll see everything around, I can map it all, and it will all be America. But the problem was that he was used to East Coast mountains, so he had absolutely no concept of Rocky Mountain scale or Rocky Mountain winters. So his entire company left without enough food, without enough gear, and they got snowed in on Mount Rosa, which was 70 miles away. And by the time they got snowed in there, neither the men nor the horses had had any food for 2 days. So Pike had to make an important decision. Was he going to go chase his future donut at the top of this mountain and thereby probably kill everyone in his company, or was he going to retreat? Well, we know from history that he chose to retreat and turn back and go back to Pueblo. And that's probably one of the reasons why the mountain today is named after him, because he got home to succeed. And I decided that as much as I wanted a donut, I really didn't want to risk the possibility that this was altitude sickness and get so vomitous and head foggy that I could not safely bring us back down the mountain, because Tab had already made it clear that they didn't want to die. So I decided to follow the champion example of Zebulon Pike. And I turned my car back on, and I backed out, and I started making my way down the mountain. And I noticed that this was much easier going up, possibly because when going up, my view was dominated by the place I didn't want to be, the sky. But going down, I was looking towards my goal. I could see the road spread out in front of me. So with each switchback, I gained more confidence. So by the time I hit the tree line, I was actually driving the speed limit and not shaking anymore. So we made it down the mountain. We got to the hotel where we were going to spend the night, checked in, took showers, and went to the wedding rehearsal dinner. And while we were there, I did not feel like that mountain had defeated me. I felt like that decision to value my kids and my safety over some arbitrary goal was a win, even if I didn't get my donut.